Goeiemôre julle mense. Good morning everyone. It's me, it's 5 a.m. and I wanted to post the weekly predictions for each ascendant, and then I got overwhelmed because it's a lot of information. So I'm like, I don't know which one I should post first. Should I post, the Cancer ascendant and whatever? Then I'm like, okay, instead of not posting anything whilst I organize how I want to deliver this, because I actually plan to make 2 weeks instead of 1 week. So it's quite a lot of information. So I just want to organize how I'm going to present it to you. But in the meantime, I want to go back to something that I mentioned in 2022, if I'm not mistaken, either 2022 or the beginning of 2023. I had talked about the SWOT analysis. It was, in a one video, and it was a passerby comment. I was not focusing on it, but I was, mentioning it regarding the context. Now, SWOT analysis, many of you will know, most of you actually here will know about the SWOT analysis. We've all seen this at school. We've learned about this. Basically, SWOT analysis is just a manner that you can organize your planning, in which you can organize your planning. So, and the S is for strengths, the W is for weaknesses, the O is for opportunities, and the T is for threats. So this is how I look at relationships, because you guys know I specialize in relationships. When it comes to astrology, Synastry is really what I zone in. I study a whole lot from all angles, all relationships, everything. Relationship is what I study so deeply and so dearly and so passionately. Now, when it comes to the SWOT analysis, I would like you guys to start using it. I do use it in most of my analysis that I give to you guys, and but most of the time some people, they have their own questions that they want to focus on, but I really enjoy giving you what you can improve on, what's gonna come your way. We have to improve all of these things. I do give in most of my analysis, my reports, because I type my reports whilst I analyze it. So I don't use a software for the reports. They all generated by me by typing them whilst I'm analyzing your chart. This is how I work. So when you do your own analysis at home, or you meet somebody new and you want to get into a relationship, you can even use it in your current relationship, guys. There's nothing you will lose, but you will have a practical perspective of what is happening in your relationship and how your relationship can help you. I really enjoy making everything to be applicable in practical life. I am really zoned in practicality, and of course, some people, they do need the psychological, therapeutic explanations and encouragements. It always works, but most of the time I want to focus on the practical life. Like, how can you use astrology in a practical life, in a practical ways, and then you can see results. And when you can see those results, this is what I believe in, and I believe the astrology should be able to do, to help you in real life, in your real life, and not just in theory and giving you lots and lots of information without ever telling you how to apply it, without ever telling you the results of it, like the results of all of this knowledge and theory that we're gathering everywhere. There is so much of it, lots and lots of theory, teaching after teaching after teaching. But then, as the old saying goes, you can preach and preach about how to fish. But if you never ever take the man to the river and show him how to actually fish, they will go on to be poor. So most of the time it is good to talk and talk and talk and talk and teach and teach and teach and talk about all the theory that exists in the world. But as long as we are not being shown in real life how things are, how practically we can see these things, this theory in our lives, we will continue to seek and seek and seek and look and search everywhere without ending, so when it comes to the SWOT analysis and how you can encompass that in your astrological analysis, right? So when it comes to the strengths, I advise you to look at all the harmonic aspects. So this is how I go about it. This is how you can also go about it. I look at all the harmonic aspects, and when it comes to the weaknesses, I look at the harder aspects, not the difficult, like tight difficult, but the mid aspects. These are the things that you can actually ignore, like they won't really hurt the relationship. You can love somebody knowing that, they can't cook, maybe if they can't cook, or they can't change a tire, it's a weakness of the relationship, but it's not something that will kill the relationship. Opportunities, you see opportunities in squares. This is why I always preach that do not be afraid of the squares. Whenever you see a square, think of opportunity to be better you yourself. You can learn how to now compromise, how to negotiate, how to see the other person's point of view, and vice versa. This is what the opportunities represent in our synastry. And when it comes to threats, you guys already know by now what I find as a threat. I always say an in conjunction is where things are really tied. Now, sometimes, not all times, sometimes some oppositions will become a threat and some oppositions will become an opportunity. So you have to also obviously know which planet you are working with and in which signs they are in for you to determine if is this an opportunity or is this a threat when it comes actually to both a conjunction and an opposition. Now, after you have set out your SWOT table, you have to plug in manually all of these things that you are taking from your chart. This is my original method that I found useful, and I had introduced it to you guys, like as I said, 2022, 2023, and definitely it's something I didn't learn. Like most of the techniques that I come up with, I try them and then I see how can I move around it. And obviously knowing obviously what we've learned at school, all of these things, it does kind of help to bring all of that knowledge, all of that theory, all of what we learn, my goodness, what we research, what we discover, we bring it into a practical solution for ourselves, for our relationships, for our families, and in the long term for our communities. So this is one mini advice that I give you, but it's worth a whole lot. And I am so happy that I actually don't have a lot of people who are following, because then it's like I know that it's people who are really coming to get what I'm about, like, not just, passerbys or entertainment, but you guys, you are really like into what I talk about, because I'm off the script. I don't I don't do things the right way, the popular way. I just talk about my own things. So in any case, I appreciate you for being here, but I really want us to help structure our relationships in a practical way. And if you want me to look at your chart, go onto my website. I do have a sale. It's not a sale, actually. It's prices cut down, because I am getting a lot of people who are using AI, and the world is definitely shifting towards AI. And you do, as I have already told you guys, that when it comes to AI, I advise you, I push you, I urge you to use it to get the standard things, like the mere theory. But when it comes to the practicality of it, I have tested it throughout my Scorpio. This is something I spoke about even last week. So deeply, I told you that when it comes to AI, it's not perfect. It makes so many mistakes. It hallucinates. It can't even get the prediction right. But what it does get most of the times is the theory, because there's just too much knowledge being shared, too much information that's being repeated over and over and over again, but people are not getting to the practical side. People are hesitant to get to the practical side, to show how it is in a practical life, how to apply things, And of course, not everyone is a risk taker or is confident enough to do a practical thing in a public place, because there are people who judge, and there are people who are critics, who just judge, what you're doing and all of that. I understand that, but we need to get there. We need to get more people who aren't afraid to apply it into real life, to predict in front of everyone. And if you fail, you fail. That's how I told myself. I was like, I'm not scared to do it. I'm just gonna predict. I'm gonna make predictions. I'm gonna go all in. If I fail, so what? And so luckily, most of the time, 99% of the time, I have been correct. And that's all coming just from courage and from the passion of wanting to bring practicality into our way of relating and having relationships, and just to show people that we can use astrology. When you get into into a belief system or a religion, and you get so passionate and you just want to show everybody that it works because it worked for you. That's how I feel, because it worked for me. And so I just want to show everyone practically that it can be practical. It can be used practical in a practical life. You don't have to be afraid, and you don't also have to be afraid of the darker side of it, because in the darkness there's light. And this is coming all the way from the cultural theories and theologies, whereby in the beginning it was all dark, and after that came the light. Even the Bible is telling us that before there was darkness all around there was darkness, and then God say, let there be light. So you cannot at all go into astrology and not talk about the dark side of it. You can't. Okay, you can, I mean, freedom of speech, freedom of, action and everything. You can, you can choose the light side, but then when you choose to stay in the light side, it means you are not going to the original source of it being, there's the darkness. In the beginning, there was the darkness. We cannot run away from the creation of things. And as we know that as long as you're not going to the root of the thing, you will always get the lighter side of it. If you have a problem, you have to go to the root of it for you to resolve the issue. Otherwise, it's going to keep on recurring and recurring and recurring again. So most of the time, I really would enjoy, and I do like that, you guys, you still here and you still coming back, even if I talk about dark things, because it's telling me that you are of the understanding that we need to get to the root of things in order to be able to get real healing. There is no real healing unless you clean the wound from within, and then you apply whatever you have to apply on top. All the medical practitioners who are here, because most of you are in the medical field that support me, you do know what you have to do. You have to make sure that the inside of the wound is properly done. Maybe you have to sew it together before you cover it up on the external side. So this is how I like to work, well, based on my moon and Saturn and Scorpio, but anyway, SWOT analysis will help you get into the root part of your marriage, your problem, your anything, just your life in general. And if you practice this the way I do, you are not being materialistic, you are being realistic actually, because if in your opportunities you're going to also look at what is there to gain, what are you going to gain, what is your partner going to gain in the threats, what are you risking to lose, what is your partner risking to lose. You are not being materialistic, you are being realistic, because in marriage and relationships we need to be in a high practical and realistic manner for us to be able to make better decisions for ourselves and for our partners as well. So spirituality and the spiritual psychological vision of it is beautiful and lovely, but then if you want to be practical about things, you need to get into the root part of it and say, okay, I get into this relationship, my strengths are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 based on the chart, the synastry. If you do this in using your own personal perspective, you may miss a whole lot of things. Actually, you will miss a whole lot of things. But then if you do it from your chart perspective, from your synastry perspective, from his chart, her chart as well, you will be able to get a full picture of what you will gain practically in this relationship, what you will contribute, what he will contribute, what you cannot contribute, your weakness, and if for him or herself, and what you could gain, he could gain from being with you together and all of these things. But for all this, you also need to look at the planets. So this is what I do in my analysis. I know, I always like to, as I said, talk out of script, and I guess I'm creative. I don't know what I can call it, and I understand that many people, okay, not many people, some people get annoyed because there was, somebody who made a comment and told me that I was diluting, the Jyotish astrology. Who did I think I was, coming in with my own things and diluting? And I can promise you, I'm not trying to be like Jyotish people. I'm not trying to replicate Indian things. What I'm trying to do is to take what works from each system with my original roots in the Babylonian system, where it originated from, the astrology. So this is my root, but then I take from all schools, because knowledge is knowledge and knowledge is power. And if I limit myself, I will never be able to help you guys. I will never be able to help my dedicated clients who really want help, They don't care about the politics, they just want the help, right? So of course I do talk about politics for myself because my chart allows me to do that. But they just so lenient. They don't care about that. They just focus on what they can gain from me, regardless of who I am, where I come from, my background. If I'm not part of the Jyotish traditions or Western traditions, they don't care. They just see what I have to offer and how I like to offer it, and if it helps them, they just okay. And I'm so grateful for that. I'm so grateful for you guys, and so please do use this SWOT analysis method that I use. It's not in any classical theoretical books. It's something that I came up with, but I find very useful, and I am not trying to dilute anybody's belief, anybody's astrological belief by astrological traditions. I'm just proposing what I use, what I've seen work for my clients, and what can help many of my supporters. And thank you so much. Have a good day, and I'll chat to you soon. I have all of these predictions lined up. I'm just overwhelmed, but I'll sort it out. I'll see how I can give them to you. So obviously maybe not tomorrow because it's a lot of data. So maybe the day after, on Monday. Yes, for now, ciao, ciao, a bientôt, yes.